In 1980, English goth rockers Bauhaus released their debut album, In the Flat Field, on the 4AD label, and from it, the track Die. Okay, that is a very raw guitar tone, very trebly, very fuzzy, and a really tight beat, a really clickety click. Yeah, this is a really snappy, just shrill, sheer number. Okay, I love the layers that we got going on. The clickety click of the hi hat, the that really circular tight bass line, and it seems like two layers of just sheer searing, sizzling, trebly guitar. Okay, yeah, I just love the layers. This is kind of an character number for them, admittedly, but the tightness, the a slight funky quality to it, putting it kind of in there with the post-punk funk acts, like a certain ratio, the aw pairs. And I also get kind of like a transmission feel. Well, I'm talking about Joy Division here, but with twice as many layers and just a lot more kind of like neon jolt factors. Oh, hear that sizzling fuzz, and it's being flanked by those electronic sounds. Yeah, let's catch up on the lyrics because I can't really make out what Peter Murphy's saying. His voice really seems to be more of like a rhythmic component than a communication tool in this number. Let's see. We're going down. We're going down. We're going down to the kamikaze dive. Fishnet leatherette, pussy galore, pseudo sumo wrestler on the door. Okay, obviously they're talking about going to like a goth club or something, and the people, the kind of characters they pass by while entering. Dangerous dances, the dragon's claw, K-tel oriental, the monkey's paw. Interesting metaphors for like a goth club. I imagine we have like the cage dancers and stuff. You're dead. I said you're dead. You're a dead ringer for Madame Butterfly. That's quite a play on words. He starts out saying you're dead. I'm thinking, is this person dead to him? Does he have contempt for this? You're a dead ringer. Snappy little fingers stitched my thigh. You're so necromantic, venomous and vain, mixing Molotov cocktails in the subterranean. You're dead. I said you're dead. We're going down to the kamikaze dive like insects in a Chinese lantern now. We're feeling so alive but showing. We're going down to the kamikaze dive like manic moths in Chinese lanterns now. We're feeling so alive. Hear that saxophone just kind of wailing? I wish I could. There's some sounds that are just passing by me that I can't quite pinpoint. I heard that this one like crickety sound that sounded like a door being like an old a rusty hinged door being slowly moved. phantasmagoria of sound. I guess the only criticism I could really make is that Peter Murphy's so low in the mix; he's barely there. But as I said, he's basically helping to facilitate the rhythmic quality of this number. Although he does have a very good voice. Having him this is really just more. This is one of the few. They didn't do many numbers as like bright as this one, and just full of like neon powered sizzle and lights just flaring up at odd angles. Yeah, those last moments of electronic sound there. Yeah, that was Bauhaus with Dive from their debut album In the Flat Field, released in November 1980, and the inaugural release for 4AD Records, which would go on to become quite the institution in goth, ethereal, dark wave circles over the next, 2 decades or more. And this track also had quite a funky component to it that would be heard more on their next album, Masks. Yeah. Anyway, let's hear another song that Bauhaus did in 1980, though not on In the Flat Field. This is from a single, although the track was later appended to reissues of In the Flat Field. The track Dark Entries. A chromatic descent from like A to F sharp with like a circular bass line that's kind of like looping around looping around that descent. Yeah, structurally it's a little bit like Love in the Void by Susie and the Banshees. The rhythm has that kind of like wind up plop plop type cadence to it that Joy Division was using quite a bit, where it almost kind of like a faux tribalistic element. It seems to have been quite characteristic of stuff in the darker in the post punk. Well, I like that bridge right there. I like those sounds that just kind of like distorted, experimental, raw sounds that are just being incorporated. I don't know much about this band's like early period, like formative phase, but I wonder how they just developed this this whole package. From the ashes of punk, like decided to like take the hammer horror elements that Dave Vanian suggested, in his persona, like as frontman of the Damned, but yet wasn't really reflected much in the Damned's music because he was like the only like character in that kind of mold, and decided to incorporate more into the lyrics and manipulate the sonic characteristics of their music to where it was like post punk with that horror, like ghoulish, like like every day is Halloween type twist. Let's see. The lyrics to this number: caressing bent up to the jug again, with sheets and pills invading all those stills. In a hovel of a bed, I will scream in vain. Oh, please, Miss Lane, leave me with some pain. I'm wondering if this is. Let's see. All it says is. No one's commented on the lyrics on Genius.com. I'm wondering if this may be inspired by either a movie or a book that Peter Murphy read. Went walking through the city's neon lights in fear of disguising my warping, seething pleasure lines among confidant hairs, intangible of price, trying so hard to find what was right. That first line of that second stanza kind of reminded me of something John Fox may have written around this time. Yeah, went walking. I came upon your room, it stuck into my head. We leapt into the bed, degrading even lice. She took delight in taking down my shielded pride until exposed became my darker side. This seems like a sexual encounter going awry. I'm almost wondering if it's like about an encounter between a vampire and a mortal female. Yeah, there was some kind of like a scribbly, like high fretboard trickery I kind of heard going there.
You solicited on his homebound road, narrated to some lonesome episode, and wanting well beating up a factory, all buffing on the chest with the same old.
Okay, once again, clearly it's not so much about putting the words across as it is just using the voice as an instrument, as a rhythmic device. Yeah, here he's just kind of like mumbling in this certain pattern, and that while the title keeps getting bleated up like overdubs.
The opposite services, exploitation of this body is work. For the visible vampire brings up office clerks, and he lays suffices his eye.
Yeah, that beat, it kind of like for a minute there, it alternates between sort of martial and then bump 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 like that. Yeah, a common thing in this vein of music. Hear that oscillane sound. Okay, any more? Let's see. Puckering up and down those avenues of sin, too cheap to ride, they're worth a try, if only for the old times, cold times. Don't go waving your pretentious love. He's soliciting on his tan brown brogues. Dark entries, dark entries. Okay, that's the vocal trade-off I was commenting on. Gyrating through some lonesome devil's row, dark entries, dark entries. Pinpointing well, meaning upper-class prey, of walking money, checks possessing holes. He sleepily offers his services, exploitation of his finer years, work with loosely woven fabrics of office clerks, Any lay suffices his eye. I came upon your room, it stuck into my head. We leapt into bed, degrading even lice. Yeah, this seems to be about kind of wandering the sexual dark side. Okay, there you have it. Two of the most aggressive songs recorded by English goth rockers Bauhaus. Dark Entries, and before that, Dive, both from 1980. The first of the Dive from their debut album In the Flat Field, and Dark Entries, a non-album single released that year, later appended to reissues of that first album. Yeah, they would release 4 albums, and having played this album, like I've been having my big grand 1980 playlist up because of the 40th anniversary and me kind of synchronizing on this like 40 anniversary, 50 anniversary, 45th, 35th anniversary type, focusing on those 4 years basically, and I've kind of warmed to this album a little bit more after having long thought that Masks from 1981 was a better album from them, and so some things kind of grew on me that hadn't quite. My firm, like 6 years ago, last time I really paid attention to this album, when I was like working on like my English B directories. My impression of the first album was that it was kind of like these rather ordinary songs with superficial weirdness window dressing for the most part, with a few exceptions, and I guess I've just kind of gotten used to some of the more minimalistic, kind of abrasive ends of like post-punk, is like after like 20 years of being like a staunch like more kind of like a lavish maximalist guy, you know, like but it just after a while, kind of everything becomes relative, and so here I am, like getting around to this album before I even get to some of my real like lifelong, you know, cornerstones from that year, like Vienna and those all. Yeah, but anyway, Bauhaus, a band that one of like, you could say, half a dozen bands that emerged in 1979-80 from England that had just this really distinct full aesthetic going, from the image on down to the music and packaging, like the Specials being another, a band that pretty much single-handedly invented the two-tone aesthetic and got a few other acts kind of in on the game so early that it became a movement. Gary Newman, you know, and this band, yeah. Just so many very unique creative ideas, and like just when you think you had seen it all, yeah, and yeah, like because other bands had incorporated horror into their lyrics, into some of their titles, but no band had really had this kind of like Addams Family camp fully integrated into kind of like a whole performance lifestyle package that was both like on stage and off, at least in a way that could be portrayed as like a subcultural identity type concept. Like, I mean, there had been Alice Cooper, but I mean, come on, you're not gonna go wearing those all those dungeon get-ups like off screen. I mean Alice Cooper was his whole stage camp was purely something that you could only really do in performance. It's not something you could really take out into the streets with you, or yeah. Anyway, but not to get too sidetracked, Bauhaus, 2 great tracks from their first full year out on the scene, after having debuted late the prior year as Bauhaus 1919. And there would later be a really great goth post-punk band called 1919, yeah. Anyway, for more Rubies and Sapphires from the catalog of Bauhaus, see the directory of albums by English B artists linked in the description below. Like and subscribe, follow me on social media, share the video, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the 2 tracks you just heard. The lyrics, the layers. Yeah, if you knew the meaning of of these lyrics a bit more than I did, because Bauhaus have a lot of really hardcore cult fans and such, and I'm pretty sure that some of these lyrics have really been microanalyzed to the full extent, many times over. Yeah, and comments about the effects that were employed, if you have any insights into that. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most air travel maximalist, signing off.